The Awakening. Beneath the ice, the Earth lay in ruins, a once vibrant planet reduced to smoldering ash and broken cities. Alien invaders, known as the Breen, had descended upon humanity with ruthless efficiency. They slaughtered billions, turning Earth's grand cities into rubble and leaving only death in their wake. For the survivors, hope seemed like a distant memory, a dream that had long since died. But deep beneath the Arctic ice, buried in secret chambers known only to a select few, a final hope stirred. Earth's last defense, a battalion of 1,000 genetically enhanced super soldiers, began to awaken from their cryogenic slumber. These soldiers, the product of cutting-edge technology and human ingenuity, were humanity's final ace, kept hidden away for the darkest of times. Among them was Darren Morris, a skilled soldier and natural leader. As he emerged from his cryo chamber, his senses immediately took in the grim situation displayed on the monitors surrounding him. The Earth he once knew was gone, replaced by a war-torn wasteland under the control of merciless alien invaders. The screens showed endless footage of desolate cities, charred landscapes, and streets littered with the corpses of those who had once called Earth home. Darren's heart hardened. The fate of humanity now rested on the shoulders of these 1,000 super soldiers. They were outnumbered, facing an enemy with superior technology and overwhelming numbers. But Darren refused to let despair take root. Hesitation meant extinction, and Darren knew that the time for action had come. Gathering the other soldiers, Darren led them through the underground bunker, where they discovered a massive armory filled with cutting-edge weapons, powered exo-armor battlesuits, and enough firepower to make the Breen pay for what they had done. The soldiers suited up, their resolve unshakable. They would hit fast, hard, and without mercy. They would exploit every weakness and never give up the fight. For Darren, the mission was clear. They would reclaim their planet, no matter the cost. As they prepared for battle, the soldiers could hear the faint echoes of alien voices above, the Breen invaders meticulously scanning the ravaged cityscape for any remaining human life. They were confident in their victory, believing the human race to be all but exterminated. Little did they know, beneath the Arctic ice, a storm was brewing, a storm that would soon unleash hell upon those who dared to invade humanity's home. The reckoning begins. Emerging from hidden access tunnels beneath the Arctic ice, Darren led the charge as the super soldiers launched a surprise attack against a Breen patrol unit in the war-torn ruins of New York City. The alien soldiers, caught completely off guard, scrambled for cover amidst the rubble of shattered skyscrapers. Plasma bolts and railgun rounds flew through the air, but the human troops quickly seized the upper hand. The soldiers' sleek-powered exoskeletons enhanced their strength, speed, and resilience, allowing them to maneuver with fluid precision as they pressed the attack. Darren's leadership was evident as he directed the soldiers to outflank the Breen defensive positions, exploiting every weakness in the enemy's lines. During the fierce close-quarters firefight, Darren spotted a high-ranking Breen officer barking orders to the alien troops. Sensing an opportunity, he moved with superhuman speed, closing the distance and slamming an armored fist into the officer's chest, sending it crashing to the ground. Darren pinned the stunned alien beneath his boot, staring down at it with cold fury. "Surrender, Xeno scum!" Darren growled through his helmet's voice amplifier. "Unless you want to join the rest of your unit fertilizing the rubble." The Breen officer, coughing up iridescent ichor, glared back defiantly before recognition flashed in its compound eyes. You're Selenopo's second," Darren sneered. "Looks like today's our lucky day, boys." With the Breen unit routed and the officer bound and restrained, Darren began a harsh interrogation, determined to extract every morsel of tactical intelligence he could from the captive alien. The rest of the soldiers established a secure perimeter, salvaging weapons and gear from the fallen Breen. Darren's interrogation was relentless. His armored gauntlet wrapped around the alien's throat as he demanded information on the Breen's shield generators, defense grid, and command centers. As the alien's defiance crumbled under the relentless onslaught, Darren committed every detail to memory, formulating a plan of attack. With the coordinates of key Breen command posts in hand, He relayed the information to the other super soldier teams scattered across the globe. "Listen up," Darren said over the encrypted communication channel. "We've got a golden opportunity here." Solano just spilled his guts. "I'm transmitting the coordinates for a central Breen command post in the ruins of downtown Manhattan. We hit that, and a dozen other high-value targets simultaneously, and we can deal a crippling blow to their occupation force." With a synchronized countdown, the super soldiers moved out, splitting into multiple strike teams to cover their assigned targets. Darren prepped his own squad for the assault on the central Breen command post. His eyes gleamed with predatory determination as he double-checked the ammo reserves and power cells on his battlesuit. "Pollock is mine," Darren growled to his men as they approached the heavily fortified alien structure. "That sadistic bastard has this coming for what he did to Earth. It's time to show these xeno-freaks what it means to piss off humanity." The final confrontation, as the super soldiers breached the outer perimeter of the Breen command post with demolition charges and a hail of precision weapons fire, alarms blared, and emergency bulkheads slammed shut. The Breen troops mounted a desperate defense, but the humans were an unstoppable force, relentless in their fury. Darren led his team through the chaos, his eyes scanning the battlefield for one target, Commander Pollock, the Breen leader responsible for the devastation of Earth. And then he saw him, amid the smoke and destruction, barking orders as his combat armor unfolded around him like a second skin. Pollock turned, locking eyes with Darren across the devastated atrium. "So, the human roaches crawl out of hiding at last," Pollock spat, hoisting a vicious-looking plasma carbine. "I'll enjoy watching you die, Simeon. I think I'll keep your skull as a memento after I scorch the flesh from your bones. Just try it, you sadistic sack of alien filth," Darren snarled back, his fingers tightening around the grips of his dual mag rifles. The weapons hummed with eager menace. "I'm going to enjoy ramming my boot down your scrawny throat." With a roar, they charged at each other, weapons blazing. The atrium became a cataclysmic collision of battle armor, flesh, and seething rage. Darren ducked and weaved through the storm of plasma fire, his enhanced reflexes allowing him to stay one step ahead of Pollock's murderous onslaught. The two combatants traded blows with brutal efficiency, each strike fueled by years of hatred and a burning desire for vengeance. Pollock's combat skills were formidable, but Darren's training and experience made him a deadly adversary. As they fought, Darren's HUD painted Pollock in shades of crimson, predicting the alien's movements with uncanny accuracy. Suddenly, Pollock overextended on a thrust, and Darren seized the opportunity. He ducked under the attack and drove his disruptor blade into the gap between Pollock's breastplate and collar armor. The supercharged blade punched through the alien's defenses, and Pollock screamed in agony as a shower of sparks erupted from the wound. Darren ripped the blade free in a vicious lateral slash, sending Pollock crashing into the atrium wall with a bone-jarring crunch. The Breen commander's chest was a smoking, shredded ruin, his body convulsing as he struggled to breathe. "You damned simian!" Pollock hissed through a bubbling froth of ichor, his trembling fingers scrabbling at his ruined chest. This isn't over. It's over for you, you son of a—" Darren growled, advancing on the fallen Breen commander, his mag rifle raised to deliver the final kill shot. But before Darren could pull the trigger, Pollock slammed a clawed hand down on an emergency evac panel set into the wall. "Another day, ape!" he snarled as a quantum transport field shimmered into existence around him. Darren squeezed off a volley of shots, but it was too late. Pollock teleported away in a crackle of displaced energy, leaving Darren roaring in frustration as he slammed an armored fist into the wall. Taking a steadying breath, Darren keyed his comm. "Pollock is down but not out. The coward Quantum jumped the hell out of here. Sit rep." The rest of his team reported in, confirming that the command post had been secured. A flood of data from the other strike teams indicated similar successes across the globe. With the Breen command and control network crippled, Darren knew they had struck a major blow for humanity today. But he was all too aware that Pollock was still out there, along with the bulk of the Breen invasion force. The real war has only just begun. Darren muttered to himself as he turned to his team's tech specialist, Sergeant Hawkins. "All right, Hawkins, do your thing. Crack into these ugly alien computers and strip mine every shred of intel you can. We need to know what those Xeno bastards are planning next." The battle for Earth's Hard-Us. Darren and his team fortified their position within the Breen command post. Sergeant Hawkins worked furiously to extract every piece of valuable intel from the alien systems. The glowing holographic screens flickered with streams of alien data as Hawkins hacked into the Breen's encrypted networks. His fingers moved with practiced precision, decoding layer after layer of complex security protocols. "Darren, I've got something," Hawkins called out, his voice tense with urgency. "I've located a key Breen communication hub buried deep beneath what used to be Washington, D.C. It seems to be the central node for their planetary network." Darren nodded, his mind racing. If they could take control of that hub, they could potentially disrupt the entire Breen invasion force on Earth, cutting off their communication and coordination capabilities. It was a long shot, but it was a chance they had to take. "Good work, Hawkins. Transmit the coordinates to all units." "We're moving out," Darren ordered, his voice steely with determination. He turned to the rest of his squad, their eyes burning with resolve. "This is it, people. We're going to hit them where it hurts. This is for everyone we've lost, for every life they've taken. Let's show these aliens what happens when you mess with humanity." As the super soldiers prepared for the assault, they reviewed the mission details. The Breen communication hub was heavily fortified, with multiple layers of defense systems, including automated turrets, energy shields, and a battalion of elite Breen warriors. It was going to be a brutal fight, but Darren knew that his team was more than capable of rising to the challenge. The strike teams converged on the ruins of Washington, D.C., their drop pods landing with precision in the shattered remains of the once great city. The landscape was unrecognizable, a twisted wasteland of scorched earth and collapsed buildings. The air was thick with the acrid smell of smoke and decay, and the only sounds were the distant hum of alien machinery and the occasional crackle of a fire that still burned in the distance. Darren led his squad through the desolate streets, their powered exoskeletons moving silently as they navigated the debris-strewn terrain. The entrance to the Breen communication hub was hidden beneath what had once been a government building, now reduced to a pile of rubble. They approached the entrance cautiously, aware that the Breen would have prepared for any attempt to breach their stronghold. "Jenkins, take point." "Rodriguez, cover our 6!" Darren ordered, his voice barely above a whisper as they neared the entrance. The squad moved like shadows, their movements synchronized and efficient. Darren could feel the tension in the air, the calm before the storm. As they reached the entrance, Hawkins quickly disabled the outer security systems, allowing them to slip inside undetected. The interior of the hub was a stark contrast to the ruined city above. The walls were lined with sleek alien technology, pulsating with a cold, eerie light. The corridors were narrow and claustrophobic, designed to funnel intruders into kill zones. But Darren's team was ready for anything. "Stay sharp," Darren murmured as they moved deeper into the facility. "We only get one shot at this." The team advanced with lethal precision, taking out Breen patrols and security drones with swift, silent efficiency. They encountered little resistance at first, but Darren knew that the real fight was still ahead. As they approached the central chamber, the heart of the communication hub, the alien defenses ramped up. Automated turrets sprang to life, spewing deadly plasma fire. Energy shields crackled into existence, blocking their path. And then the Breen warriors appeared, emerging from hidden alcoves with weapons drawn, ready to defend their stronghold. "Take cover," Darren shouted as the room erupted into chaos. The super soldiers moved with lightning speed, dodging plasma bolts and returning fire with deadly accuracy. The walls echoed with the sound of gunfire and the roar of energy weapons as the two forces clashed. Darren ducked behind a support column, his mind racing as he assessed the situation. The Breen had the advantage of numbers and fortified positions, but the super soldiers had the element of surprise and superior training. It was a brutal close-quarters battle with no room for error. "Jenkins, hit those turrets with an EMP grenade," Darren ordered, his voice cutting through the din of battle. Jenkins nodded and lobbed the grenade, which detonated with a sharp crack, sending a wave of electromagnetic energy through the room. The turrets sputtered and went dark, their circuits fried by the blast. With the immediate threat neutralized, Darren led the charge toward the central chamber. The Breen warriors fought with desperate ferocity, but they were no match for the relentless assault of the super soldiers. One by one they fell, their bodies crumpling to the cold metal floor. As Darren burst into the central chamber, he saw the communication core, a massive, pulsating structure of alien technology that controlled the entire network. Without hesitation, Darren charged forward, his mag rifle spitting fire as he mowed down the last of the Breen defenders. "Hawkins, get to work on that core," Darren shouted as he provided cover, keeping the remaining Breen forces at bay. Hawkins sprinted to the core, his fingers flying over the alien controls as he worked to overload the system. "I'm almost there," Hawkins called out, sweat pouring down his face as he bypassed the final security protocols. The core began to hum ominously, its energy levels spiking as Hawkins triggered a catastrophic overload. "We need to get out of here now," Hawkins yelled, turning to run as the core started to shake violently. Darren grabbed him by the arm and hauled him toward the exit, the rest of the team close behind. They sprinted through the corridors, the walls trembling as the communication hub began to collapse around them. The energy core, now destabilized, was moments away from detonating. "Move, move, move!" Darren urged, his voice hoarse with exertion. They burst through the entrance, just as the ground beneath them heaved with the force of the explosion. A massive shockwave rippled through the air, throwing them to the ground as the hub erupted in a blinding flash of light and sound. For a moment, there was nothing but silence. Then, slowly, the dust began to settle, revealing the smoldering ruins of the Breen communication hub. Darren pushed himself to his feet, his body aching from the impact, and surveyed the scene. It was done. The hub was destroyed, and with it, the Breen's ability to coordinate their forces on Earth. But Darren knew that this victory was only the beginning. The Breen were still out there, and they would stop at nothing to reclaim their hold on the planet. But for now, they had won a crucial battle. And as Darren looked around at his team, bruised, battered, but still standing, he knew that they would keep fighting. They would keep pushing forward, no matter the cost, rallying the resistance. With the Breen communication hub destroyed, the super soldiers had dealt a significant blow to the alien invaders. But Darren knew that the war was far from over. The Breen still occupied large swathes of Earth, and their forces were regrouping for a counterattack. Darren and his team needed to act quickly to consolidate their gains and rally the remaining human resistance. Using the intel they had gathered from the Breen's communication networks, Darren identified several key locations where human survivors were still holding out against the invaders. These pockets of resistance were scattered across the globe, isolated and on the brink of collapse. If they could unite these groups and coordinate their efforts, they might just have a chance of turning the tide. "All right, people," Darren said, addressing his team as they regrouped at their makeshift command center. "We've got our next mission. We're going to link up with the resistance cells and bring them under a unified command. We'll need every resource and every fighter we can get if we're going to push the Breen off our planet." The team nodded in agreement, their resolve unwavering. Darren divided the super soldiers into smaller strike teams, each assigned to a different region where resistance forces were known to be active. They would make contact, offer support, and coordinate a global counteroffensive. Darren's team was tasked with securing the largest and most crucial of these strongholds, a fortified base hidden deep within the Rocky Mountains. It was the last bastion of organized military resistance in North America, and it was under siege by the Breen. The journey to the mountain base was treacherous. The Breen had established a network of patrols and checkpoints throughout the region, making it nearly impossible for anyone to move undetected. But Darren and his team were experts in guerrilla warfare, and they knew how to avoid detection. Under the cover of darkness, they made their way through the rugged terrain, navigating narrow mountain passes and dense forests. The air was thin and cold, but the soldiers pressed on, their determination fueled by the knowledge that they were humanity's last hope. As they approached the base, they could see the signs of the ongoing battle. The sky was lit up by the glow of explosions, and the distant sound of gunfire echoed through the mountains. The base itself was a massive, heavily fortified complex built into the side of a mountain and surrounded by a series of defensive walls and turrets. "Looks like the Breen are trying to breach the outer defenses," Darren observed as they surveyed the scene from a vantage point. "We need to get in there and help hold the line." The team moved swiftly, using the cover of the terrain to approach the base without being spotted. As they neared the entrance, they encountered a group of human soldiers desperately trying to hold off a wave of Breen attackers. The defenders were outnumbered and outgunned, and their morale was beginning to falter. "Hold the line!" Darren shouted as he and his team joined the fray. The arrival of the super soldiers turned the tide of the battle. With their advanced weapons and combat skills, they cut through the Breen ranks with brutal efficiency, forcing the aliens to retreat. Once the immediate threat was dealt with, Darren made contact with the base's commanding officer, Colonel Andrews, a seasoned military leader who had been holding the base against overwhelming odds. "Captain Morris," Andrews greeted Darren with a firm handshake. "It's damn good to see you. We've been holding out here, but it's been tough." "The Breen have been relentless. We're here to help, Colonel," Darren replied. "We've taken out one of their main communication hubs, and we're rallying the remaining resistance forces. With your help, we can coordinate a counteroffensive and take back our planet." Andrews nodded, his expression resolute. "We've got a lot of good men and women here, Captain. We'll fight to the last breath if we have to. What do you need from us?" Darren outlined his plan, detailing the importance of uniting the resistance cells under a single command structure. With the base's resources and manpower, they could launch a coordinated series of strikes against the Breen's key installations, disrupting their supply lines and weakening their hold on Earth. "We'll need to move quickly," Darren emphasized. "The Breen are regrouping, and it won't be long before they launch a full-scale counterattack. We need to hit them before they can hit us." Andrews agreed, immediately ordering his troops to prepare for the upcoming operations. The base's communication systems were linked with those of the other resistance cells, allowing them to synchronize their movements and share intelligence in real time. As the plans were finalized, Darren took a moment to reflect on the journey so far. They had come a long way from the frozen chambers beneath the Arctic ice, and the road ahead was still fraught with danger. But with the resistance now united and ready to strike back, there was a glimmer of hope. Darren knew that the next few days would be critical. The fate of humanity hung in the balance, and every decision, every action, would determine whether they would survive or be consigned to history. But Darren was ready. They all were. "Let's get to work," Darren said, his voice firm with resolve. "It's time to take back our planet, striking back." The resistance was mobilizing, and the coordinated effort was already yielding results. Reports of successful strikes against Breen outposts and supply lines poured in from across the globe. The alien invaders, caught off guard by the sudden resurgence of human resistance, were scrambling to respond. Darren's team, now operating from the Rocky Mountain base, was at the forefront of these operations. They targeted key Breen facilities, hitting hard and fast before disappearing into the shadows. Each successful mission weakened the Breen's grip on Earth, bringing humanity one step closer to victory. One of the most crucial targets identified by Darren and Colonel Andrews was a massive Breen energy plant located in the heart of what had once been Los Angeles. This facility provided power to a significant portion of the Breen's military infrastructure, including their shield generators and weapon systems. Taking it out would cripple their ability to defend against the Resistance's attacks. Intel indicates that the plant is heavily fortified. Andrews briefed the team as they gathered around a holographic map of the facility. "We're looking at multiple layers of defense, including automated turrets, patrols, and an energy shield protecting the main reactor. This isn't going to be a walk in the park." Darren studied the map, his mind working through the various possibilities. "We'll need to take out the shield generator first," he said. "Once that's down, we can plant charges on the reactor and bring the whole place down." The team moved out under the cover of night, their approach masked by the darkness and the ruins of the city. The once glittering skyline of Los Angeles was now a jagged silhouette against the night sky, its buildings reduced to charred husks by the Breen's relentless bombardment. As they neared the energy plant, they could see the alien structure looming ahead, its sleek, angular design a stark contrast to the crumbling remnants of the human city. The plant was surrounded by a formidable array of defenses, with patrols of Breen soldiers and drones scanning the area for any sign of intruders. Darren led the team through a series of drainage tunnels, bypassing the outer defenses and emerging near the base of the plant's shield generator. The structure hummed with energy, its surface crackling with arcs of alien electricity. "Hawkins, you're up," Darren whispered, gesturing for the tech specialist to disable the shield. Hawkins nodded and set to work, his fingers flying over the control panel as he hacked into the Breen systems. After a few tense moments, the shield flickered and then collapsed, leaving the reactor exposed. "Shield's down," Hawkins confirmed. "We're good to go." "All right, team," Darren said, his voice steady. "Plant the charges and let's get out of here." The soldiers moved quickly, placing high explosive charges around the reactor. The facility was enormous, and they knew they had to move fast before the Breen realized what was happening. But as they completed their task, the alarms blared. The Breen had discovered the breach, and the facility was suddenly alive with activity. Patrols converged on their position, and automated turrets swiveled to lock onto the intruders.